Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of A Stranger of Mine, a Japanese genre bender from 2005 that was directed by Kenji Uchida. It was later remade into the Korean film Couples from 2011, which is arguably my favorite romantic comedy of all time. Now, I do have a review of Couples on my channel already. I'll include a link in the description box below to that. A Stranger of Mine is the original film, and it incorporates some of those same romance and comedy elements, but it has more of like a dramatic feel to it at times. And I've been meaning to review this film for years, and thankfully it recently popped up on YouTube, so here we are. It all started one Friday night when broken-hearted and lackluster businessman Miyata returned home after losing the love of his life, only to be called out again by his private investigator friend. The two meet at a restaurant, where Miyata runs into a woman and falls in love. But in the shadows, something unbelievable awaits them all. 3 episodes as seen from the viewpoints of 5 people. A devastated Miyata, a detective who is tired of his job, a yakuza boss having trouble running his organization, a woman thrown into despair by a 2-timing fiance, and a con woman who twists men around her finger, are all sandwiched between a short prologue and epilogue, and the relationships between these simple and isolated episodes begin to surface one after another as the story progresses. So A Stranger of Mine is a kind of a special movie because of its storytelling structure. And I've talked about this before on my channel, but there are some movies that use a change in perspective strategy to tell the story. So basically they'll show you a scene early in the film, and then later on in the film they replay the same scene using a different camera angle, and they show you what was happening off screen the first time around. So the filmmakers basically give you some additional information that gives proper context to what was actually happening in that scene, which is different from what you thought was happening before. So, like, as an example, you may watch 2 people having a conversation, and then later on in the movie, they replay the scene, but they show that someone else was in the room. And more importantly, much more was happening during that scene than you originally thought. And it's a very clever way of presenting things. And the way they present it is not confusing at all in this film. There is some nuance and attention to detail, of course, which means that, some things will fly over your head if you're not paying attention. But it is a fairly clean and simple presentation, and at least in how it's executed. So that's the kind of storytelling structure that we have here. And if that sounds interesting to you, watch the movie. Like, that's the big selling point here. The overall quality, very good. Very sharp script writing. Very good script here. Very clever, and it's lighthearted. The humor in this is subtle and effective. There's a good amount of comedy in this film, but it's all dialogue-driven and or situational. And of course, it relies heavily on that change in perspective storytelling structure as well. So humor is created when that additional information is presented to you later in the film. A Stranger of Mine is not like a high-energy movie. It's more like a laid-back film, deliberately paced, but it's quite absorbing and funny, I thought. There's really no big actors in this, at least not like big actors. But they all do a fine job. The director, Kenji Uchida, very small filmography. When I looked at his filmography earlier today, I was actually kind of surprised at how small it was. But international viewers may be familiar with his later film, Key of Life, which was very good in its own right. So, if you're a fan of that movie, it's another reason to check out A Stranger of Mine. Similar in the sense that it has a good script behind it and good acting, This director hasn't really directed much of anything for about a decade now. He's pretty talented, seems to pick interesting movies, so hopefully he gets another film going soon. But basically, if you enjoy like well-written genre benders that have a little bit of romance, a little bit of comedy, a little bit of drama in them, I recommend A Stranger of Mine. It's currently available on YouTube with English subtitles. I did previously recommend this film a few years ago when I did my playlist of 200 Japanese film recommendations over the last 100 years. It's like a big playlist on my channel, so I'll include a link to that playlist below as well, in case you want some more Japanese film recommendations. And as always, folks, I'll see you next time.